Hey, guys. Welcome to another edition of Michelle Speaks with a Z. If you hide it, you can't heal it. I'm your host, Michelle Portier, soon to be Perry, aka Michelle Speaks. And as you guys know, we like to highlight individuals on this platform, individuals that have overcome adversity, have harnessed the lessons, and have now turned back and they're giving back in their respective communities, either by volunteerism, by activism, by advocacy in business and ministry, or a combination of all of the aforementioned. And so today I am honored to have a very special guest with me who I've not only had the pleasure of meeting, but also of going through her program of what we're going to be talking about today about how nutrition impacts mental health. And so, welcome to our very special guest, Miss Cassandra Delynn.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm honestly honored. I'm so happy to be here. So happy.
I am super excited. And, you know, for my listening audience that doesn't know, I know a little bit about Cassandra and what I was learning and gleaning through the program. But I know that she is a natural lifestyle coach and she's a mentor for high performing women. And you know, as high performing women, sometimes we let some little things fall by the wayside, but those little things can lead to big things. So, Cassandra and I are just going to chit chat back and forth about how we can improve that and how everything is connected and it all impacts our mental health or the status of our mental health. And so, Cassandra, I know a little bit about you, but for our listening audience, tell them, who is Cassandra personally, professionally, and spiritually?
Wow. Well, again, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you and your audience. I so enjoy you, getting to know you and meeting you. And so this was just the icing on the cake. So it's just really
Right.
pleasurable to kind of reconnect with you in this capacity in your platform. So I just want to say thank you again for that.
Thank
Um,
you.
yes, absolutely, from the bottom of my heart.
You said that magic word, connect. That
Yes.
is the key.
It is. It is. It's all about connection, and that's actually a lot of about who I am. I mean, I've always sought connection, not
Mhm,
intentionally, just intuitively, spirit driven, spirit led.
mhm.
Definitely, but that has a lot, and we'll probably talk more about this as we go through the show today. But that has definitely been a guiding light to me, is that need for connection with source, with others, just connection in general.
You're
Um,
speaking my language.
yeah, right. I know, and that was what was so great about, I guess, kind of running into each other, or getting the opportunity to meet with one another. Is that you meet people who, by all accounts, you would have no reason to meet,
Right.
but then you do, and then to come to find out you do speak the same language. I just feel like those are. I feel like that's when God or the universe, whatever you believe in, is stepping in and saying, I see you, I got you. Here's your
Right.
angel. Here's your whatever. But I love these moments. I love
I
these
love them
types of
too.
moments. Yeah. So, who am I? That was it was professionally, personally,
Personally
and
and
spiritually.
spiritually.
Great question. So personally, I mean, and then there's definitely a common thread through all of these things.
Right.
Um, but personally, actually, I would say personally, professionally, and spiritually. Yeah, personally, professionally, and spiritually. Um, I am all heart chakra. Let me put it that way. I'm a person who feels very, very deeply.
Mm,
Everything is stemmed from the heart. I don't do. I like to pride myself on my intellect and my cognitive ability, degrees, all
right.
of that stuff. That's great. But I'm really, really driven emotionally. I'm really, really driven spiritually. And I've learned over time to understand that that is as important of a guidance
Mhm.
system as anything else. And so, on my social media, if you were to go look me up, as opposed to my name being there, it says, I am light. That's how I
Yes.
introduce myself. That is how I think of myself. That is how I carry myself, is I am light.
And I can see that because you're just glowing with pure light from
Thank you for
within.
that. I feel that way. I feel that
Yes.
way. I feel amazing, and I'm always flattered that it shows. Um,
Yes.
but I wanted to start with that because that is the true essence of who I am. But personally, I'm a mother. I've got two children. I've got a son and a daughter. My son is 10. and he's adorable and he's perfect. And my daughter, and we have a really great, amazing relationship right now that I value a lot. I'm working in a couple of different capacities right now. I am still in the corporate world as
Okay.
a vice president of human resources, which I'm doing consulting for right now on a part-time basis.
Mm-hmm.
But I've made the leap to full-time entrepreneurship, and so I'm really, really like beyond thrilled. I'm actually quite literally living my dream,
Yes.
working for myself right now. I founded and am running Ori Ara. Ori Ara is a company that I founded with a specific goal and intention of honestly being the heart of Black women. And I see
Yes.
Ori Ara being a household name because we are improving the quality of health and therefore the quality
Mhm.
of life for generations of Black families around the globe. That's the mission.
Oh my God, you're
And
speaking my language. And how does it feel now that you're living your dream full time?
it's a weird mixture of being surreal
Mm-hmm.
and feeling perfect.
Mm.
It feels perfect. It feels like I landed in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing with the right people. And I can look back on my life and see how every single dot connected to bring me to the place that I'm in today to be able to found and run Oriara. And it feels amazing. There's a knowingness that I'm running off of. There's a knowingness that is fueling me when the world doesn't make sense, when I take a look at the evidence around me, and sometimes things aren't adding up or they don't make sense,
Right.
or it's confusing. It's not easy all the time, but it really does get
It's
easier.
rewarding. Yeah.
It's rewarding, but that difference between what I see on the outside versus what I know, it's the knowing that I'm following. It's the knowing that, like I said, fuels me to continue because it's inside of me. I know for certain that every step I'm taking is guided, every single step without a shadow of a doubt, and I don't even see the steps. My life right now is a series of taking a step and then not looking, but just knowing my foot is going to land on solid ground. Like that's every single step. It's eyes closed, take the step, and the ground appears. And so it's exhilarating. It's scary. It's
I was
the
about to ask you, I know it's exciting and you're taking that leap of faith, but how does that feel? A little bit.
it feels it feels like flying. It feels
Mm.
like flying. It feels like flying, but controlled. And this is the only thing I can compare it to is I imagine this is what eagles must feel like. It feels like that I feel like what they look like, if that
Just
makes any
soaring.
sense.
Yes, just
Soaring. I
floating, gliding
feel
through
like
the air.
I'm
So you're just
soaring,
gliding through life.
gliding through life, and they're soaring there, but they work to take off, right, and they work to slow
Mhm.
down. Like what if they have muscles, I don't know, but whatever in their body that they need to exert effort over, they're doing it, but it feels the reward that you get for that work to be able to soar, it's more than rewarding. It's not even a
Yes.
question, it's not even a trade-off. It's like absolutely I'll do whatever I need to do to take off so I can spend
Mhm.
this time soaring, and that's what it feels like. So
So
um,
you're in that zone, you're in that sweet spot, you're in that, this is what I've been called to do, this
oh,
is what I've been
absolutely.
born to do, this is why I exist.
Absolutely.
What led you to this path that you're on?
Ooh, that's interesting because, and I'm sure you could probably identify with this, and anyone who's been fortunate enough to kind of land in their purpose, or
Mhm.
work their way to their purpose, but you can look back, I can look back and see many different things that brought me to this point. So many things that were, I can see now, orchestrated to provide me the experiences that were meant to shape me and provide me the opportunity to make decisions that have led to the next that have brought me to today. So there's so much that goes into it. But if I had to boil it down to one main thing, um, it on this might sound weird, but it was I experienced a lack of harmony in my
Mhm.
life. So I was working in corporate. I had a job that I hated. And I decided to go get my MBA to create some options for myself. I just knew I couldn't stay there. I didn't honestly know if the MBA would work, but that was all I knew to try
Right.
and go and
To do.
do. And so that's what I did. I went and got my MBA and I graduated with honors. And I was the most surprised out of everyone. I didn't go through my MBA program. I just was going through it. I was having
Right.
a good time and loving my teachers, loving what I was learning, loving my colleagues. I just was loving the experience. I really wasn't, believe it or not, paying a lot of attention to the academia and my grades. I wanted to get through the program. And I graduated with honors and I was surprised. And when I realized like, oh my God, I'm smart. I didn't know that. I had no idea that I was smart. This was the first time I'd applied myself at anything as an adult.
Right.
You know, as a
Right.
child, we go through school, we go through college, and you're in this momentum, you're doing the
It's
things. And
expecting.
as an adult, you have options. And I chose to
Mhm.
go to school and I did it well. And that surprised me. I was a mother, I was married at the time. And so I had a
Mhm.
lot going on.
On your plate.
And when I realized that I could affect change in my life, that was the first time I realized that I could set my mind to something and
Mhm.
pursue it and affect change in my life. And the process itself wasn't awful. And, I
Mhm.
remember when I first signed up, I'm thinking, oh my God, 2 years, got to go to school and study, take
That
tests.
commitment, that commitment.
That commitment is daunting. But as I was
Mhm.
going through it, I'm like, hey, this is not that bad. It's actually kind of
Mhm.
fun. And so just to have that experience that I chose as an adult was life changing for me. And
Mhm.
I then believed in myself. I had proof at that point that I could accomplish something. And when I remember, one day going to get dressed and looking in the mirror, and I'm like, but I don't see her.
Mm.
I know she's in there. She just
Yes.
graduated. She just walked to the
Yes. Yes.
stage with, the honors tassels. She's paying back these student loans. She can do things, but I don't see her.
Mhm.
And having that lack of harmony, having that incongruence in my life between who I knew I was on the inside and what I was able to accomplish, but not seeing that same representation on the outside, it was painful. It was a painful incongruence. And
Mhm.
I trusted myself at that point. It's like, well, if I can get an MBA, I can lose 20 pounds. Like I can do that. I can figure that out. I
So
don't think it's rocket science.
so were you heavier then?
I was very much so.
Mhm. Okay.
Very much so. I was your
'Cause I guess I
typical.
just assumed that you've always been fit, so but one
No.
thing I heard you say, even in the things that you were pursuing that you just did because you were in the momentum, you said you were loving the journey, and I
Yeah.
think that's so key to bring out, but I digress.
No, we'll definitely touch on that because that is the theme of my life. That is the
Mhm.
absolute theme, and that's the advice that I give most people. But no, I was not always fit. I was your typical, I guess, middle-aged or slightly middle-aged Black woman, thick,
Right,
had hips and thighs and
right,
and
right.
curvy. But I was not. I was not thin, especially
Mhm.
during my MBA program where I was drinking a lot, eating a lot. It was a wild time. And so and you I look at my graduation pictures, I've got a very chubby face and no, I was a very different person. And
Mhm.
and so what led me on this journey was trying to find harmony and congruence between who I knew I was and how I was showing up to the world.
And so what did that journey look like? I know you shared a little bit about getting your MBA and then not, looking in the mirror and you see this stranger looking back, and I'm smiling because you're speaking my language yet again. I gotten to a point in my life where I didn't know who that was in the mirror that I was looking at, and I walked off of a job. And I don't recommend that people do this, but I knew that I was destined to do more and that I just wasn't existing to pay bills. And I walked off the job. There was tears streaming down my face as I was on the phone talking to a customer, and I just put the headphones down and walked off. And
Amen.
so, yeah, yeah.
Amen. No, but that calling that you felt, I know that calling. That's my language. And
Yes.
learning to trust that is the one of the most important lessons that we can learn in our
Mhm.
lives. I wish we did that more. I wish
Yeah.
that we did that more. But so the journey. So after that, I graduated actually, and then I got pregnant.
Mhm.
So I wasn't able to start my fitness journey right away. But then, I got pregnant with my son, and I was struggling to lose the baby weight with him. And I remember being completely stressed out of my mind, literally at my wits' end. Like, I don't understand how women, and this is back before there was an acknowledgement that you don't need to rush to get to snap back, right? Like, this was at the time where everyone was snapping back, and there were
Hmm.
incredible looking women who had just had babies. I was like, I don't understand what's happening here. Why am I not snapping back? What's wrong with
Right.
me? You know, kind of
Right.
thing. And so all of this pressure. In any case, I dislocated my knee
Hmm.
working out one day and Googled ways to stay in shape without hurting your knee. And then I stumbled onto bodybuilding.com and I saw these incredible looking women that looked how I felt. And I was like, how do I do that? How do I become her? That's what I see. That's what I
Right.
feel inside, but I don't see that.
Hmm.
And so I was fortunate enough to have found a trainer that lived near me. And then I kind of went from there. I was a bodybuilder for several times a year for 5 years. I got my pro card in 2016. But as I was in that industry, everyone was raving about, oh, I just lost my blanket. Everyone was raving about the awards and the shows and the bikinis and the physical transformation. But
The
I'm like,
external. The
all the
external.
external stuff. I'm like, but
Yes.
stop, you guys, wait a minute. There's other amazing things happening right now. Let me tell you about
Okay.
this and let me tell you about that. And nobody wanted to hear from me. They were like, show me how to get, flat abs. Show me how to grow my butt. I don't want to hear about that. And I'm like, but no,
No.
I've got something to say.
Yes,
And
because this is the thing, you can make the external pretty, but if you don't deal with what's inside, it's not going to last.
it's not gonna last.
Yeah,
It's
and
not. And
that's what,
that's
and
what a
I
lot of
believe,
the industry is.
yeah, I believe that's what you wanted to speak, and they were like, no, 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 hush. And so,
Yes.
how did you, combat that?
Well, it's more, I didn't combat that.
Mhm.
I continued similar to you walking off the job. There was just this calling inside of me that even though, no one was listening, I kept talking. This was
Mhm.
something. And the more I talked about it, the more I was able to find a language to
Mhm.
describe what I was experiencing. And
Mhm.
what I knew at the time was that every time I was in competition prep, my life turned golden. Everything I touched literally turned to gold. My finances improved, my relationships improved, my work and everything in my life got better. And I couldn't understand why, but I was steadily trying to share with the world that there is a transformation happening internally. I know you're fascinated by what you see, but I
Right.
promise you the best of what I have to offer you cannot see. The best of what I have to offer is being transformed inside of me. And I came up with this saying that lifting weights is so much more than muscle. With every rep, you're building more than muscle. You're building an internal character and a strength of fortitude that can never be taken away from you. And that translated to every area of my life. And so
Mhm.
I was out there just living this life. And then later I realized that what happened, and the reason I founded Ori Ara and the reason I'm so passionate about this is because what I later realized is that every time I entered competition prep, I was putting my body in a pristine state, getting
Mhm.
rest, getting massages, eating healthy, drinking lots of water, physically working out and calling on the physical strength of my body,
Mhm.
and it was in a pristine environment. And therefore, the spirit inside of me had direct access to the world outside of me. That's why everything I touched turned to
Yeah.
gold, is because it wasn't me, it was the
Stop right
spirit.
there.
I was a clean vessel for the spirit.
Mhm.
That's what it was.
Speak more to that right there, because
That,
the
that's
that
the
is the
piece.
connection. Speak
That's the
more to that right
connection.
there. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and that's the connection. That was what I later realized, and it's only been within the last few years that that has really been crystallized and confirmed in my mind, and I can speak about it very passionately and very confidently because I now have an entire decade of experiencing this lifestyle that has led to the most incredible, like I said, internal transformation that
Mhm.
I could that a person can experience. Because my spirit has access to me. Our spirit is talking to us all day, every day. But our body interferes with the message. We don't seem to appreciate the fact that we are spirits that just so happen to have a body, that we
Mhm.
are not bodies that just so happen to have a spirit. So when you understand and you believe that you are a spirit that just so happens to have a body, you have to give thought to, well, what is my body for? I'm alive without it. Our spirits are eternal, right? Our
Mhm.
spirits don't require this. When I leave this physical body, my spirit of Cassandra Delynn is going to remain. So it's like, well, what is this body for? And this
Mhm.
body is the most magnificent tool the Lord saw fit to give us. It's the only tool the Lord saw fit to give us in our birth. It's God we're talking about here. We could have been born with any damn thing. We could have been born with money. We could have been
Mhm.
born with everything that we need. But the only thing he saw fit to give us was this body. Like when you
Mhm.
sit and think about that, how does that change the vessel that you're living in? It is quite literally the only gift that we've been given. And when I sat and thought about that, it changed my whole framework. It changed my whole worldview. It changed everything about living in this body. And most people don't take the time to acknowledge we're in these bodies and we think that we are these bodies. And even
Mhm.
with us thinking
So
that
much
we
more.
are these bodies, we aren't even taking care of what we think we are. We're in this, and there's this disconnect that we have from the physical home that we
Yes.
live in
Yes.
and the navigation of our life and the quality of our life.
And so how does nutrition play into how our mental capacity
Yeah,
is
yeah,
and how that inspects our spirit?
yeah. Well, if you think about it, when as you are living, existing, the only thing, food is our only input.
Mhm.
Food is the only thing that we as humans put into our body. It's the only thing. I mean, we breathe air, but I mean, everything else is really topical. It's done outside of us. And so when you think about what we were born with, when you think about the perfection that we were born with, and our body being able to take care of us and navigate everything, when something goes wrong, it's not, generally speaking, it's not because there was a misfire. Our body is perfect, is working wonderfully. It's because there was an input. There was something that we put in our body that changed the dynamic, that changed the
Mhm.
chemistry that was running through our body, and that's food. It's
Mhm.
for us. It's 99% of the time. It's sometimes it's drugs and alcohol for other people, which is clearly another way
Right.
to harm your mental health. But I
Right.
mean, for everyone though, for not everyone is drugs and alcohol, but for everyone it is food. Everyone consumes food. That is the only input. That is the only thing that we put in our body that has the ability to change the internal chemistry of how we navigate, of how we live. And so
Mm.
that is why, does that
I
make sense? That is,
Yes, I have a question from one of our listeners.
oh,
So she
wonderful.
said, Cassandra, how were you able to be disciplined with your nutrition? I can go to the gym all day, but I literally ruin any progress by what I eat.
Yeah.
And
So
that's Miss Natalie.
hi, Natalie. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. And that was actually what I spent. Sorry, I just realized this fell down and I wanted to put it back.
That's okay.
The nutrition piece. So I was a bodybuilder for 5 years. And in a bodybuilders actually don't have very healthy diets. They're very disciplined in what they eat, but we stick to protein and carbs and fats for the most piece. There's no greens and stuff like that. And for 5 years, I did that. And I kept thinking, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than counting every macro, then counting every calorie, timing the food. But that was the only way that I knew. That was the only way that I
Mhm.
was taught on how to remain in shape. So for the last 5 years, when I stopped bodybuilding, I threw all of that aside and said, there's got to be a natural way. I don't believe that God intended us to, be here and give us this abundance of nutrition for us to have to
Mhm.
count every piece of it. And excuse me, what I ended up doing, a couple of things. One, is removing the idea that counting anything is going to lead to throwing away anything that you've been taught by the traditional health and wellness industry. Just throw it out of your mind. What they have a different agenda than you do when you're thinking about getting healthy. How you're thinking about getting healthy is not how they're thinking about getting healthy. So the first thing you have to do is throw all of that out the window. The second thing you have to do is develop an awareness, and this is kind of what I did with Michelle and a group of ladies in my nutrition class, but was develop an awareness of what food is, what nutrition is. um, and I remember learning that our bodies respond on a cellular level. Our bodies respond to everything on a cellular level. And so when it comes to food, when it comes to nutrition, when you're consuming food and there's no nutritional value to it, those cells get pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
So, Natalie, imagine that you are about to take a bite of the biggest, warmest, freshly baked chocolate chip cookie. Imagine that you were about to bite into that cookie and you take a bite and you get a mouthful of oatmeal raisin. How does that feel to you? It kind of like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I mean, it shocks you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is what our body is experiencing all day long when it comes to what we eat. And when I understood that, because our body is expecting nutrition, is expecting vitamins and minerals, and it keeps getting all this artificial processed crap, and they feel the same way we would if we were to bite into a chocolate chip cookie only to get oatmeal and raisin. That's how our cells are feeling, and that's why they're pissed off. That's when they mutate. That's when they enter dis-ease,
Mm-hmm.
and they die. Like that's where that comes from. And when I understood that, for me, that made it much easier to say, okay, my body's not going to respond well to this. And then you just add the fact that after you eat foods like that, you typically don't feel good. You typically
Speak.
don't feel well.
Speak.
And yeah, and for me, what most people don't have the good fortune of, which I have had the good fortune of, which is why again I founded Ori Ara, is the fortune of contrast. When I was a bodybuilder, I was committed to spending 3 to 6 months eating healthy. And during that time, I watched my life change. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I would get off competition prep and I would feel the drop in my energy, I would see the changes in my body, I would feel the changes in my mood, my seasonal depression kicked in, my anxiety kicked in, all of those things kicked up when I got out of competition prep.
Natalie
It was such
responded.
a contrast.
Natalie responded. She said, "Wow, this is so good. I never looked at it that way. I'm literally shocking my body."
Wonderful. That's
Yes, yes.
wonderful. That's exactly what's happening. That's your body is literally eating again chocolate, thinking it's getting chocolate chips, but it's getting oatmeal raisin all day long, and it's pissed. It's
And
pissed.
I can remember a time because now that I'm healthier now, I got healthy, but not got healthy. I got fit before, but it was in an unhealthy way. So
Yep.
I was eating, I was drinking everything because I was in the military and I had a baby and I wanted to get back within standards and I didn't want to go on the fat boy program. So I was very unhealthy in what I did, taking supplements that were, the fen that was really, they found out later was
Remember
really
that.
bad and doing all that. And then it got to the point that it was started to counteract what I desired. It stopped working. And so I definitely enjoyed the nutrition and abundance because even though I was getting better, I was still restricting some things, but I found out, that it was something digestive that,
Yeah.
I told you, I don't like the carbs. I don't like feeling heavy. I don't like all of that. It is a digestive issue is what I've
Yes.
learned. So
It
thank you
is.
so much for
It
that. Coach
is.
Mike
And
sends
that.
his greetings too.
Oh, tell him I said hello. But yeah, your body, the digestion challenges that you were facing is the result of your body eating an oatmeal raisin cookie.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
that's what the equivalent is. It's like this is not how we want to operate. Um,
Can you
but
share more about as far as the nutrition in abundance rather than being restrictive, how that helps and
yeah,
how that's going to impact the quality of not just your life, but your emotional, mental health?
yeah, absolutely. So our body does not reward us for restriction. Not many things in life reward us for restriction. I mean, again, kind of this is rooted in spirituality. Is that I believe in an abundant God. I believe I live in an
Mm,
abundant universe. There is nothing that is ordained by God or this universe that says restrict. Everything is about abundance, since that
mhm,
includes our food. So this first understanding that restriction is not the path. But I created the truth about nutrition is abundance is because as I went on this journey for the last several years, trying to figure out how to feed myself without restriction, it
mhm.
became really, really clear to me that as long as you stick with the foods that are natural to earth, you can enjoy with abundance. That is why they are here. And getting into the rhythm of being in the rhythm of the universe of Mother Nature is
Mhm.
a natural form of restriction. It's a natural diet. When you look at how Mother Nature um, cycles through, like with fruits and vegetables, there are things that are in season, there are things that are not. That is her form of restriction. All we really need to do is follow that path, right? Is follow what's already being
That
naturally
sounds so
provided to us.
easy. That sounds
Sounds so
easy.
easy. And it's
Yeah,
not always in practice, but it
right.
first becomes with the awareness. What most people lack is even the awareness that that is a path towards health and fitness. Most people think, oh, I want to get healthy, so let me go on a diet. No one
Mhm,
thinks I want to get healthy, so let me eat an abundance of natural foods.
mhm.
So this is bringing the awareness to start, and that's what we talked a lot about, Michelle, as we were going through our course. Was
Yes, you
you know
did.
some of this stuff is not going to be easy to adopt right away, but it begins with the awareness. You're putting yourself into a power position by even being aware. In the absence of that, you have no options. You're quite literally imprisoned in whatever your current world is.
Right. So Natalie has another question. She
Mhm.
said, "Is there a secret to get rid of belly fat? I feel like I'm an emotional eater. I'm 4'11" and weigh 149."
Do you want to tell her? Were you part of that conversation that I had about emotional eating? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember you said eating is emotional and
Oh,
it's not a
eating is
bad thing.
emotional.
And it's
Eating
not
is
a bad
emotional.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So first, Natalie, let's make sure that we remove any shame you feel. We have to go around being nicer to ourselves. Let's remove
Hmm.
any shame that you're feeling over the fact that you emotionally, because we all do it. And the example that I gave Michelle and the ladies was, think, I don't know if you have children or not, but I mean, think to a baby. When a baby is born, the one of the first things that happens is that baby is put on its mother's breast to eat, and that
Hmm.
baby is looking up in its mother's face and it's eating, and the baby is in love. And for the next sometimes several years, depending on the family and the culture, that baby is being fed by a loving family member, and there's nothing but a very loving exchange while that baby is eating. That baby, whether it's bottle fed or breastfed, is looking up in the face of love the entire time it's eating. So the idea that emotional eating is somehow harmful for us is completely contradictory to the way that we are brought into this world. And I hope that makes sense. And then that process continues. Some of our most festive traditions that we have as people are around food and emotion. Weddings, funerals, graduations, births. I mean, everything is a celebration of emotion. And we
That's one of my father's love languages. If he likes you, he's gonna feed you.
absolutely. I'm the same way. I
Right.
love feeding people. I
Right.
love I love preparing food with love, knowing that I'm going to give this to somebody, they're going to ingest it, and it's a form of me filling them with my love. That's
Right.
really what it is. Um, but and we continue this. So I guess I first want to just make sure we remove the shame around emotional eating. What we need to pay attention to is not the fact that we're emotional eating. All eating is emotional. What we need to pay attention to is what emotions are coming up. That's where we go wrong, is that we're not paying attention. Our emotions are our guidance system. That's the way our spirit speaks to us, that we're on track or we're off track. And so when you're,
Mhm.
because you emotionally eat, but it's a matter of what are you emotionally eating. That's where we go wrong. We're usually feeling bad, and instead of eating to feel good, because that is an option, right? Like when we have that heartbreak, or we have that hard day at work, or we have that
Comfort.
emotional fight with a sister or a partner, when we have those emotions, we think we want to feel better. We think we do. And because we think we do, or we think we want to feel better, but if we thought we wanted to feel better, we would eat foods, we would do things that would make us feel better. We would eat celery, right? Or carrots, or something that is a food that's going to transfer happy energy. But what
Mhm.
we want is understanding. What we want is that harmony that I was speaking of before. And so we put in our body foods that match how bad we are feeling in that moment. Similar to like when we listen to sad songs, right? When you're in a sad mood, the last thing you want to hear is Pharrell's "I'm Happy," right? Like that's the last thing you want. It will piss you off. I remember being depressed when that song came out,
Exactly.
and I was pissed every time I heard it on the radio because it didn't match me. There was no
Mhm.
harmony there. And that's painful. That's painful. And so when you're emotionally eating, let that be that is when that spirit talking to you. Pay attention to what you're being called to
Let
eat.
that be a barometer, yeah,
That is
of what you're
absolutely the
feeling.
problem. That's your
Mhm.
barometer. That's your red flag. That's the sirens
Mhm.
going off. That's like, all right, pay attention here. It's
Like,
not to be
hello,
shamed.
hello.
It's not, oh, I'm emotionally eating. Let me go do this in private so no one sees me. Let me hide this and let me talk bad about myself so that, it's not, that's not what that's what we end up doing, but that's not what we're being called to do. It's a
Mhm.
barometer. and we are supposed to say, okay, so where am I emotionally, and what should I be doing about how I'm feeling? And so pay
Mhm.
attention to what you're being called to eat. And if it is these foods that are matching how bad you feel about yourself, that's a separate issue. That's not an eating issue. That's an emotional issue. There's something there that needs to be uncovered, whether it's with the people that you're having the emotions with, or maybe it's more severe and it requires therapy,
Mhm.
which is totally acceptable and okay.
Mhm.
But it's really a call to action. When you're emotionally eating and you find yourself being drawn to certain types of food, it's a call to action, not to feel bad. Because
Mhm.
I'll speak for myself. I know that there's times where I feel so damn good, I will not put anything that's going to make me feel bloated or heavy in my body. I'm just like, I'm not here.
Yes,
You feel that way,
exactly.
right?
Yes,
Because it matches how
exactly.
you feel inside. And so that's emotional eating too.
Right. When I first began the journey of eating healthier and not drinking everything, I could feel my body being energized as I was eating like the salads and the tomatoes and the fruits and the things like that. But when I ate something horrible, I had become so accustomed, I guess my body had gotten so clean that immediately
Yep.
it affected me. And I was like
Yep.
tired and irritable. And
Yep.
Natalie says, thank you.
And that's
Mhm.
the you're absolutely welcome. And that's the contrast I was referencing earlier, is that most people don't give themselves enough time to do something to
Mhm.
experience the benefits of it. We'll
Mhm.
speak specifically about your health. We usually don't pursue health long enough to experience the benefits of it, so that when we slip out of that health mode, which is going to happen, we're all going to slip, we're all going to backtrack
Right.
to a certain degree. You don't have the opportunity of knowing, oh crap, I feel different. We have become so comfortable in our discomfort that it feels like the norm. It's not until you feel amazing.
Mm.
It's not until you feel amazing that you realize, oh my God, there's a different quality of life that I've been missing out on. And that's what, Michelle, I think you're speaking to, is that you felt amazing. You knew what it felt like to be light. You knew what it felt like to have spirit all up in you and accessing everything. And as soon as you put something in your body that was contrary to that, you felt it. And it makes the decision easy. It makes walking away from those things. It's like, have you ever had a crush on someone and he's hot and he's gorgeous, and then you
Yes,
realize like he's got bad breath or he kisses bad, and there's nothing in the world that will get
they
you to
can
be
change
attracted to
it.
that person again? That's
Yes.
what happens when you have these, when you can give yourself enough time and space to experience that amazing healthy happiness. It's like, oh my God, things are amazing. And then you look at that pizza you used to crave, or those hot pockets, or those honey buns. You look at those things you used to crave, and it's like looking at the dude that used to be hot, but now you realize he's a sloppy wet kisser and you don't want nothing to do with him. Like, it's that kind of a distinction, and you don't crave it anymore. But
And
this is actually,
honestly, I question myself, not that I do it so much now, but I question myself when I had gotten to the point that I had a clean diet, and then I went and ate something that wasn't, even though I know we do every now and then, but to the point that it made me feel bad. I'm like, Michelle, what's really going on?
yeah,
Like,
what's
what is the
really,
real issue? It's not the food. Yeah.
again, a call to action. And that's exactly
Mhm.
what you do. Let those, so Natalie, let those moments when you feel you're emotionally eating, let that spark the questioning and the curiosity in your mind about what's really going on here. But
Mhm.
I mean, to kind of get back to your question, Michelle, is actually a good segue into nutrition,
Mhm.
and that the energy that you were feeling when you began to eat healthy and eating the salads. That's because there is a transfer of energy of food.
Mhm.
And what I teach in the truth about nutrition is abundance, is that there is a literal transfer of energy. So for all of our listeners, what that means is that the food that you're eating will transfer its energy to you. Again, it's the only thing, it's the only input in our life. And we don't want to discount the impact of those foods on our body. So
Mhm.
the examples that I like to give are, think about foods that grow above the ground, right? You've got
Mhm.
kale and you've got celery and spinach. All of these foods are receiving source energy. They get 100% of the sun's energy through their oh my gosh, what did I just blank on the word? Phyto, what is it called when plants process sun energy? So I can't think of the word right now, but they get 100% of it. And then
Mhm.
when we go and pull up, that kale and that spinach and chop it up and we put it in a salad and we eat it, we then transfer 10%. The transfer process is 10%.
Mhm.
Um, our conversion is 10%. So we then are consuming 10% of sun energy. And so what that basically is saying is that we are inputting into our system good energy. And so
Mm-hmm.
people like me who've struggled in the past with depression and anxiety, severe mental health issues, what I found was by quite literally putting into my body foods that carried good energy, it would fill me with that energy. So because of that, I drink 2 green drinks a day, juice and smoothies that are,
Mm-hmm.
direct processed from fresh vegetables, so that I'm constantly consuming good, positive, quite literally sun energy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
conversely to that, if you're not eating fruits and vegetables, what are you eating? Lots of things, I'm sure, but you have to give thought to what is the energy of that food. That food
Mm-hmm.
is carrying energy. Even processed foods, even the granola bars and the honey buns and hot pockets. I don't know why I'm picking on those two foods, but
I
those
know.
things, the frozen dinners, like whatever it is, the pizza, the hamburgers that we're getting from these, all of those foods carry energy, all of them. And every time we eat them, we're transferring the energy from that item, from that food item to our body. And one of the examples that's kind of hard to hear about, but I think it's important to note is that as the energy is our meat. I'm a meat eater. Let me make sure that's clear. I have a plant-based diet, so most of my food, like 80%, is plant-based, but I do
Mhm.
absolutely eat meat. I love steak. I love a good steak, right?
Every
But
now and then. Yeah.
that most Americans, we've gotten on this high protein thing, and we're out there thinking that as long as I eat nothing but meat and fats, I'm going to be okay. And I'm not here to debate that, but what I'm here to ask you to do is to pay attention to the quality of those meats. So, in
Mm-hmm.
the same way that our plants transfer sun energy, so do animals. So, our animals usually these days are not eating fresh grass from the prairie. They're in
Mm-hmm.
deplorable living conditions in which they're being fed grain and corn that is
Mm-hmm.
genetically modified. So they're eating natural items, but these natural items were made for mass production just to feed these animals. So they don't contain the nutrients that it would if it was like raised on a regular farm. So that's understanding that first, right? So these animals are eating these genetically modified grains and corns. They're living in these deplorable conditions. Animals are sensitive, and they're aware that they're living in filth, and they're
Mm-hmm.
aware that they're about to be slaughtered, and their body is responding to the stress of that environment. And just like humans, when we experience stress, we've got cortisol that
Mm-hmm.
fills our blood system, and it creates all sorts of other hormones that are preparing us to fight or flight. Same thing is happening with these animals, and then they get slaughtered, right? And they get packaged up and they get placed in our local food store. And guess what happens? We go buy that ground beef, that ground turkey, that whatever, that those chicken fillets, and we come home and we cook it. And then we transfer that energy to our body. And then we
Mm-hmm.
walk around as a society wondering, why don't I feel good? I don't know what's wrong, but I just don't feel like my best
You
self. I
feel
don't feel like
off.
I feel off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that's
hear that a
because
lot.
we're on a
Mm-hmm.
steady diet. We are on a steady diet of consuming that sort of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to mental health, when it comes to feeling good, we have to understand that it's not always just you. I literally thought there was something wrong with me, that I was crazy. I was in therapy for years and all sorts of stuff. But when I changed my diet, when I decided that I was only going to put food in my body that was going to fill me with positive energy, everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changed about
I
my
can
life.
attest to that. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, what is wrong with me? What's going on with me? But when you know better, do better. And what you said earlier, the key is awareness, being aware.
Yeah.
And when you
So
know
don't
better,
feel
you do
the
better.
need to memorize everything that I just said, but just be aware that what you eat matters. And I think that we live in a society that
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't allow us to pause long enough to assess that. And
Mm-hmm.
so having this awareness before you eat is the biggest gift you can give yourself. It's the moment to pause, to decide whether or not you want to put that thing in your body. And sometimes the answer is a hell yes, and that's okay, but you're doing so with awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing, and that changes everything.
And so, with you saying that we don't have time to pause with this new norm that we now found ourselves living in, when the pandemic came, we had no choice but to pause and kind of assess some things. So, how has that, if it has at all, impacted your mission and your vision for Oriara?
It's funny because it's a weird, I'm not sure if bittersweet is the word, but it's a weird relationship because I feel like Oriara me coming to this space and being able to found Ori Ara during the pandemic is absolutely me arriving at the right place at the right time with the right people. It's divine. I feel
Mhm.
like my timing is divine. What I have to offer is absolutely needed and necessary. And I feel like I'm exactly the right person to deliver this message and to share everything I know about living a life that is full of light and vibrancy and good energy. And so I feel amazing about that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I realize that it is because of the pain and suffering that the world is going through that I'm
Mhm.
able to rise to the occasion and help. So, I don't like seeing what we as a society are going through, but I feel uniquely equipped to be able to help. And that feels amazing. That feels
Awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
Natalie sends her thanks. She says she's going to check out your website.
Good.
She's had to log off. And Sonia says hello. Hello,
Oh, hi, Sonia. Hey, Coach.
hello. So,
Yeah.
I am so honored and grateful to have you share this space and place because I believe it's so crucial, especially now for women, and during Women's International History Month or Women's
Yeah.
History Month, for us to have a greater understanding so that we have better tools to be able to better care for not just our mental health, but everything, and know that
Yes.
everything is connected. So I thank you for taking the lead in doing that as far as nutrition and how that is related. So the question I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of the challenges, if any, that you've had personally or professionally in making that transition and then helping and walking other women through that transition? Because we can be pretty stubborn and our mind is pretty set. So how do you offset that
The transition to founding
from
Oriara and
right? Well, founding Oriara, but helping women to see and make the connection between their mental health, the other areas of their lives, and their nutrition.
you know, um, I've been very fortunate that in my life, I don't know how I found myself in amazing networks of women. I
Mhm.
have I don't I just I found myself in amazing networks of women, and I'm in a position, and the person who I've been in those networks, and I've always been me, or at least me for the last 10 years, right? Like when I found fitness, when I found nutrition, when I found these things, it almost instantly changed who I was on a very foundational level as a person. And
Mhm.
so I show up to the world. If you've ever met me, people they're like, you're the healthy friend, right? I mean, like
Right, right.
when I show up to the world, I show up to the world 100% embodying everything that I speak about because it has been my lived experiences
Mhm.
and my networks. These amazing women that I've surrounded myself with all these years have seen that, and I've been very blessed that as I've decided to come out into the world and say, okay, I've got something to offer. I know about this, I know about that, I can help you with this, let me help you with that. As I've come out and said that more formally and loudly, I've got people who are like, yeah, she's about that life. I've got people who are like, you can trust her. I've worked with her
Mhm.
before, or I've known her for the last 10 years, or something along those lines. And so I've been really blessed that I've been able to find people, and people have been able to find me because of the example that I've lived, with my life, my
Mhm.
lifestyle. And it has, I mean, there's challenges naturally in trying to get people to listen to
Right.
adopting a lifestyle and a way of life that is so contrary to what the world at large is telling us. The world at large is saying, "Don't pay attention," and I'm like, "No, be aware," and
So
eating
how do
healthy,
you handle those
be
challenges?
aware.
Because like with anything, if you know that something's good and how good it's going to be for you and how it's going to benefit you, how do you handle that frustration, if any?
You live with it. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I've learned is, again, our emotions are the best guidance system in the world. And one, let feel them, right? Like you have to experience them. But you meet people. Well, let me answer it this way: meeting people where they're at.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
I know that when I first came out and I started talking to people, like the life transition, it's like, oh my God, you need to know this, you need to know that. And people were like, I just want a flat stomach. I don't want to hear all of that. And I would get so angry. And I actually left the industry for a while because I kept saying, that's not important. You need to think how I think. You need to let me share with you. And my ego got in the way. Right.
Mhm.
But then I
Mhm.
understood that it's really about meeting people where they're at. And so right now, if people are interested in just nutrition, let's do nutrition. If people are interested in just the fitness, let's do the fitness. But it's getting that toehold into the world, right? I
Mhm.
think people just need to, wherever your current level of interest is, be okay with that. Be okay with getting started wherever you're at. I remember actually Coach Mike told me this years ago, I never forgot, is that you don't have to be great. You don't have to be, oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting it. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be
To be
great.
great. Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like it's just get started wherever you're at. Um,
Mhm.
and and be aware of what you're going through. So I see people who go to the gym sometimes and they're on their phones trying to watch a movie and zone out. And it's like, no, that's a great opportunity because you're there to bring in awareness to that moment and see what you're learning and let that snowball, let it grow, let it be an organic, process for you. You don't have to feel the need to hurry up and get to where I'm at or someone else that you're looking at. You don't have to rush anything.
Exactly. That's
Let
good right there. That's good.
Yeah, let
That's
the
important.
frustration come, but let that also, that's a guidance for you. That if you're frustrated with where you are in your fitness journey, that means that there's a disconnect between where you are and where you want to be. And that distance is can be your motivation. That distance could ask of you to ask a bunch of questions and figure out what's keeping you from being where you want to be. That's
Mhm.
all guidance. Instead, what we tend to do is get frustrated and quit or think that there's something wrong with us, especially us women. We internalize and we're like, oh, something's wrong
Mhm.
with me. It's easier for everyone else. I don't know why I can't just be like her. And that frustration is not asking you to do that. That frustration is asking you to turn inward and ask yourself some questions about where you are versus where you want to be. And so I
And be
guess maybe the
comfortable
other
with
key
being
point of
you.
this is bringing in curiosity, allowing yourself to be curious. Um, yeah, allowing yourself to be curious about what you're experiencing and what you're feeling. But feeling your feelings, feeling your feelings. Your feelings are everything. And it's really important that we're not numbing them with medications and with television
Exactly.
and social media and drugs and alcohol. We get bored and then we turn to our phone immediately. It's like, no, sit there with that boredom. What comes to mind?
Sit
Is it
with this feeling.
uncomfortable?
Mhm.
Probably explore that. And
Mhm.
so, honestly, it sounds silly, but really feeling your feelings is a huge step for our society right now
I love
because we're
that.
just
I love
told
that.
not to feel.
I have a saying, that's similar to that, emotions are meant to be expressed, not suppressed.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I love the feeling you're feeling, so.
Yeah. Feeling your
So,
feelings and let them guide you.
what is the vision for Cassandra Delynn going forward, and what has been one of your most defining moments?
The vision going forward is to improve generations of Black
Mhm.
health around the world. I'm very passionate about working with women because besides the fact that I'm a woman, women are the change makers. When women decide to do anything, we change the world, especially
Mhm.
Black.
Mhm.
And
I
so
agree.
my goal is to reach as many women, whether you're a mother or not, you're an auntie, you're a daughter, you're somebody that somebody loves, you have influence. You have an impact in this world. And I want to create this badass army of
Say it.
strong, healthy, beautiful women, energetic women that are out there being their best and highest selves. I want to create a network of women who are
Mhm.
forming bonds over being their best and highest self. We're so used to trauma bonding right now. Everything's over. We
Mm.
bond over how miserable our lives would be. I want to create a society of women where it's bonding over how strong we are, over how passionate we are, over how healthy we are.
Mhm.
And watch these women change the world for generations. I can't stand the fact that we're dying at disproportionately high rates in every measurable capacity. Um, our people are dying. My people are dying, and I am in a position to help, and that's what I'm here to do. So that's my vision: is just to improve the quality of health and therefore the quality of life for generations of Black families around the globe. Um, and then, I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question? You said, what was the vision? And,
What has been one of your most defining moments?
oh,
That's why I
oh,
said one of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
I know
yeah, yeah,
there's many you can choose from,
yeah.
but
And I've touched on a couple already.
Mhm.
I would say most recently, the most defining moment was on in August of 2021. My
Mhm.
company that I'd worked at for 10 years, we had gone through, merger and acquisition, merger and acquisition, merger and acquisition. And the last one, I didn't make it. They didn't have a place for another vice president of human resources. And so I was technically, my last day was on August 31st. September 2nd, they called me and said, we need help. And that's why I'm doing part-time consulting for them right now, because the
Right.
acquisition was done very poorly. But, leading up to my last day, I knew for 2 weeks that I was going to leave before I left,
Mhm.
before my last
Mhm.
day. And during that time, working with my team, I had a team of about 55 people, and working with them and guiding them through that process and assuring them that everything was going to be okay and that I was going to be okay and that I'm moving on to live my dream. And actually, here I am 6, 7 months later, realizing every single thing, and the peace that came over me
Yes.
when I was told that the company was being sold.
Mhm.
You would have thought everyone was in tears. Everyone's like, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, let's go.
It
Where's
was
my
like
check?
a breath of fresh air, right? Right, right,
Yes. But the
right.
peace that came over me, the calling that I knew, that was when I knew the Lord said, it's time.
Mhm.
It's time. Let's go. Let's do this. We've been talking about this. We've been planning this. You've been doing this on the side. Let's go. And the absolute, that knowing that I was talking about before, that
Yes.
knowing appeared stronger than it ever has before. And it's staged as strong through current day to me sitting here talking to you. That knowing has not wavered once in the last 6 or 7 months. And so this last 6 or 7 months has been the ride of my life, the time of my life, living my dream, and it has definitely been pivotal. There's my life before this, and then there's my life now.
No.
It's not even a new, the way I describe it, it's not even a new chapter. It's a new book. That I feel
Love
like
it.
my life is living in a trilogy. I've had book one, I'm in book two, and I've got plans for book three later. But it's not even a new chapter. I closed out that old book. Cassandra before
Well,
August 31st is that book's done. This is book two. I'm living in book two.
so I know you've already given away many, many, many nuggets, but for the listening audience, for the parting words, can you give a takeaway and a call to action for women? Say that the woman listening in is on the fence about wanting to start yet again to try to improve the quality of her life, and she
Yes.
just feels very defeated. What would you say to her right now, Cassandra?
Don't think, feel.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think, feel. That's your intuition. That's
Mm-hmm.
the universe. That's God talking to you. Don't discredit it. It is so much more. Everything you think, your brain, everything you think, your thoughts are all recorded memories. It's everything from your past. It's you literally trying to make a better decision about your future from everything that's happened to you in the past. Your heart, your feelings are the only guidance that you get in the current moment. So
Mm-hmm.
don't think. Thinking is taking you back there. Your heart
Mm-hmm.
is live. It's right now. It's full of all the current data. You make decisions based off of your heart. Everything that's been amazing in my life, I didn't think about. And if I had thought about it, I wouldn't have done. I would have never cut off my hair and gone natural. I would have never gotten an MBA. I would have never gone into bodybuilding. I would have never done any of the things that have made me the person that I am today had I thought about them. I just knew that there was that feeling. It felt good. I didn't understand it. I didn't have a plan. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't explain it, but I did it because it felt good,
Mm-hmm.
and trusted every single moment of those individual journeys to bring me to this point. So yeah, the advice is don't think, feel, and trust your feelings. It is the only thing, it is the only thing that will help you make accurate current and future decisions.
Well, there you have it for my listening audience. I mean, out of the whole conversation, and it was all good. That last one right there, don't think, feel. Let that resonate, because I think at times we don't allow ourselves to feel because we don't want to feel the not so good emotions that we feel. But it's wonderful to feel everything. So I'm truly honored. I'm so thankful for you sharing space with us today, sharing your time, sharing your gifts, sharing your wisdom, sharing your nuggets, sharing your love, because I heard you mention that. First of all, you're just guided by love. And I
Yes.
see it, I feel it, I'm
Mhm.
experiencing it, and I'm grateful for it. So I want to thank you again for joining us today and sharing how nutrition impacts mental health. Please share with our listening audience how they can reach out to you aside from your website that's scrolling across the screen.
Yeah, so you can absolutely reach out to me at CassandраDelynn.com. As I've mentioned, I've recently founded Ori Ara. So
Mhm.
please visit the website, oriara.com. That's ORIARA.com. But you can also email me at Cassandra at CassandraDelynn.com. And all of those names transfer over to social media. So you can find me as Cassandra Delynn or under Ori Ara on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of the above. So please come find me. I would love to interact. I would love to stay connected.
Reach out to her. Your life will never be never be the same. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Michelle Speaks with a Z. If you hide it, you can't heal it. Thank you again, Miss Cassandra. Would love to continue to stay connected and maybe do some other things and have you back on at a later date. So thank you again. For my
Absolutely.
listening audience tuning in, we will see you next time. Same channel, same place. Until then, know that on this road called life, healing is a journey. It is not a destination, and everything is connected. Take care of you well, and God bless.